A Navy SEAL crossed off every name on his kill list. Chris hunted them all down, one by one. Now he watched the last target's car. The boss's bodyguards were closing in. The bodyguards moved to evacuate the boss, but Chris triggered the device. The precision blast was perfectly timed. Shrapnel tore half the boss's face off. As the bodyguards tried to escape with Steve, Chris threw a smoke grenade. He used the cover to gun down all the bodyguards around Steve. Cornered, Steve begged for his life in terror. But Chris wasn't letting the man who killed his family walk away. After killing Steve, Chris jumped in a pickup and drove off. Chris was dodging the cops because he discovered something. 3 high-ranking military and government officials were also part of the conspiracy. It all traced back to a secret project called RD 4895. Days earlier, Chris had a journalist investigate the project, and she tracked down the lead scientist, Mike. Mike finally understood Steve had been running illegal human trials for profit. He told the journalist everything he knew about the cover-up. He gave her a flash drive with all the evidence to expose Steve. The journalist told Chris what she'd uncovered. Steve had a deal with the military to use Chris's SEAL team as lab rats. They wanted to build an elite force immune to PTSD. If it worked, Steve's company would become the biggest defense contractor in the world. But the drug gave the entire team brain tumors. To bury it, Steve bribed 3 military officials and set a trap in Syria to wipe out the team. He even had Chris's wife and daughter killed to silence them. The flash drive had the names of the 3 officials Steve paid off. Chris added all 3 to his kill list and memorized every detail. The next day, the military deployed an entire SEAL team to hunt him. They had orders to bring him in no matter what. It was the worst manhunt the SEALs had ever been sent on, because their target was a decorated former SEAL commander with years of combat experience. When the helicopter passed overhead, Chris turned on his phone to reveal his location. By the time they spotted the phone on the ground, it was too late. As the blast stunned them, Chris burst from the leaves and tackled the SEAL. He grabbed the man's pack and vanished into the smoke. He sprints into the woods and breaks open a battery to scramble their thermal vision. The heat signature throws off their cameras. He knows every trick they'll use because he trained them. His brain tumor flared up and nearly knocked him out cold. The SEAL team caught up. Chris forced himself to keep moving toward the ridge. He reached the cliff edge with nowhere left to run. He raised his rifle and aimed at the team below. One pull of the trigger, and he could kill them all, but these were his brothers. He couldn't do it. They were just following orders. They had no idea Chris was climbing straight down the sheer rock face. Near the bottom, his injured shoulder gave out, and he lost his grip. He slipped and fell the rest of the way. He pulls out a flare and heats his knife until it glows red, and pressed it into the wound to cauterize it. The team leader radioed Chris and asked him to surrender. He didn't want to fight him. With his location blown, Chris is on the run again, and it doesn't take long. A drone locks onto him. He shoots it down immediately, but the damage is done. His position is compromised. Chris decides it is time to hit back hard. He digs into the soft dirt and plants every brick of C4 along the ridge. He rigs a detonator just as the SEAL team closes in on him. He thinks of the brothers he lost, the people who set them up. He is going to make them pay. A chain of explosions tears through the mountain, sending mud and debris crashing down like a flood. Chris gets swept down the mountain in the mudslide, but somehow manages to claw his way out alive. He escapes before backup arrives. The team leader doesn't chase. This mission was a total loss. Now Chris shifts his focus back to revenge. He has his buddy Ben pose as a federal agent and grab the Navy colonel before he can flee. Ben ties the colonel's family up on a beach. Chris wants him to feel what it is like to lose someone. But Chris doesn't hurt them. Instead, he uses them as leverage to force the colonel to do one big job: follow orders, and his wife and kids walk free. The colonel walks into the admiral's office and hands him a phone before he can react. Chris is on the other end. The admiral doesn't take the threat seriously at first. Then he sees the colonel is strapped with explosives. Too late. Chris hangs up. The bomb goes off. 2 down. Next, Chris tracks down the SEAL instructor who trained him, a guy named Black. Chris goes straight for him, but Black isn't some easy target. Black trained Chris himself. Within seconds, he has Chris pinned on the ground. But Chris has fought too many wars to stay down. He locks Black's neck with his legs. He grabs his arm and snaps it, then pulls out a prepared syringe. Black, exhausted and betrayed, drowns in the same training drill he used on his recruits for years. Chris isn't done yet. He digs deeper and finds out the Secretary of State authorized the whole RD 4895 program. Ben blows up a yacht offshore to draw attention, while Chris pushes into the compound. They have to move fast. Ben lays down cover fire as Chris advances toward the main building. Ben tells Chris to abort, but Chris refuses. He is Past the point of no return, he grabs a rifle and storms the estate. If he doesn't finish this now, he'll never get another shot. Chris hits the second floor, tosses smoke grenades to blind the guards. Then he switches to thermal and drops 2 of them with precision. Chris burns through every piece of gear he has to clear the building fast. Revenge has turned him into something cold. Anyone in his way gets put down without hesitation. After the bloodbath, Chris finally finds the secretary in a back room. He raises his weapon, but the journalist who helped him earlier bursts in and tries to stop him. Chris tells her the secretary approved RD 4895. So he has to answer for what it caused. The guilt breaks him. The secretary lifts his own gun to his head and pulls the trigger. By the time the SEAL team breaches the room, Chris is long gone. It should be over. But then, while his best friend Ben is out on his boat, Chris quietly climbs aboard. Because after tracing every lead, Chris discovered that Ben, his closest brother, was the final name on the list all along. Ben was CIA. Years ago, he took money and helped set up the ambush in Syria that killed Chris's entire team. Ben never spent the blood money. He even helped Chris hunt everyone else down, but he never expected forgiveness. He knows what is coming. He is ready for it. A gunshot rings out. The camera cuts away before we see if the bullet hit. Chris's revenge is finally over. He takes his daughter's drawing with the list and throws it into the ocean.